Hello, and welcome back. Northstar here with another Hearthstone 4 Got to Dumrun US single player Let's Play. Um, as usual, I've done a bit of micro off camera. Not going to everything. Some of it's been fine tuning where I deploy divisions along the border of what will be the neo-Confederacy. I also decided to buy, hasn't been approved yet, but probably will be, some infantry equipment 1 from the Netherlands. That's partly because I can turn around and resell the rifles for a higher price. I found plenty of buyers for infantry equipment 1. Um, so it's worth it. I can make a profit. Um, the Netherlands want to give me that opportunity. I'll take advantage of it. And at this middleman, what it'll actually end up doing is that this middleman between the Netherlands and some Latin American countries that, in their case, may lack the convoys to buy large numbers of rifles from the Netherlands. So it's not entirely getting something for nothing. All right. I'm making use of my convoys. They don't have any to just to say take advantage of resources of my capital resources I have. They don't. Anyways, let's see. I know it's been a tiny bit since last recorded, although with the buffer, probably no delay for you guys. I've started to try and read a bit of Carrying Comfort before realizing it's like a 1,000 page book and getting a little bit into it. It's kind of a horror, science fiction, mostly horror book, which I expected it was advertised as more sci-fi. And then the author of that book, Dan Simmons, I'd heard nothing about him. But I started to read, realized he had some very concerning racist, sexist tendencies I could see hints of. I suspected there was more to it and caught hints of maybe much further right economic views as well. Looked up the guy. It turned out he had went off the deep end in the 21st century, turned into a far right nut, uh, Islamophobic like crazy, and also fear mongering over government spending and Obama's going to destroy the country kind of nonsense. Like actually writing blogs about this until his publishers made him pull the blogs down. So it's interesting. I suspect most people read this book knowing nothing about the author. Now to go back and having no one told me this guy was this like this. It's not like someone told me this. I had to look up. It's I started reading and I caught a whiff of this guy having some unhinged beliefs, even in his very first book. Well, second actually, but um, there's a weird stories with his editor and what came out first. But anyways, and then looked stuff up. My fears are confirmed. Now I'm going back and reading the book to see if it's can be enjoyed independent of those views. It's kind of like people who thought knew nothing about Tolkien starting Harry Potter. I mean, not Tolkien. Sorry, J.R. Rowling. Tolkien was a great guy. Rowling, sorry, starting Harry Potter, then realized there was some concerning signs she had far right beliefs, and then when I looked it up, now where that information is on the public rather than way back when people read it and no one knew that she was like a transphobe and just bigoted, racist, Islamophobic, same sort of thing. Maybe it's good never to read what your author's political views are. Anyways, let's get going. I'll probably make mistakes. Um, Netherlands accepts my purchase offer. After separate fire mains here, which leave me not terribly far from advanced fitting works. Right. I should probably do the next level Navy thing, but I'm getting impatient on artillery research and being able to profit off of relief of command instead of this. So I might just go right into designing some light self-propelled tanks, division templates, and then yeah. No, Army XP is going to be critical. Of course, I'm probably underestimating how important it is to invest in my Navy. I don't know. Hard to say for sure. %25 increase in experience. I'm making 0.32, so that's 0.08 Army XP a day. Yeah, I probably... It's a tiny amount of Army XP. It's like less than 1 Army XP versus less than 1 destroyer difference in the research order. Maybe I probably should just do just heat, having to worry still about this. Well, after radio, I'll do the artillery research for sure. If I don't do it after this. Let's keep an eye out for negative events. Why is there always a storm somewhere here? I want to deploy battleships. Redeploy from here to the east seaboard without having to travel through any storms. These old battleships don't have powerful engines, not fast enough to maneuver effectively in high seas and storms, realistically. Let's see. Oh no. Okay, I'll swap this off probably tomorrow. If any of you have ever played From the Depths, which I'll probably do a let's play of eventually. Speed can help with very high seas, although you have to tweak some of the game configs, I think, to actually have sufficient large storms. They used to pop, and the game dev just made that setting the range you can normally change the settings in very small because it was hard on graphics cards around. Optimize his code, and so you don't really see big storms in that game anymore, but it's still possible. I think I did it once myself, change the max sea levels and then set it to highest. And in a big storm, being a faster engine really helps because you can maneuver around large waves, roll into them and stuff. I know it's this game, but the physics, I've read about it. Some amount, having a more powerful engine can really be helpful with really high seas, because there's strategies with like running straight into a wave, trying to crest it at the right time and such. And you can get some monster waves, though not so much in the Caribbean, more like out in the Pacific. If any of you've ever heard, I'm not even talking about like say rogue waves, which can get like over 100 feet, scary, or rogue troughs, which can be dips in the ocean that can go like 100 feet down or more. It's crazy. They exist. People thought it was a myth for a long time. You had, of course, some arrogant academics claiming it was just a sailor's myth, and then it was proven beyond a doubt with some like unmanned oil platforms measuring 150-foot waves on the North Sea occasionally, but they're very rare. It'd be like you get one wave like that every few years. Do massive damage though. Sometimes even lighthouses, like there was a lighthouse that was 120 feet up a cliff, and it got hit by a wave that, like, there's clear evidence the wave had reached up to the lighthouse and hit it. Yeah, these things happen. Ocean's brutal. Of course, in the game, speed makes no difference in dealing with storms, really. Just ship size, and that's really just that destroyers get higher penalties than every other ship. Bigger than a destroyer is fine. Okay, Import news can get rapid fire guns. And then advanced fitting works. Oh, I got one more event. Trying creativity. Extra experience. This guy, cool. That's useful. No, I need underwave or punishment, which I only get from Navy research mostly in basic. Eventually, I'll want it. So, find use of power emergency pumps. I'll make that take 100 days. Or this be 62. It's like 1100. It's gaining funding every day. ODA. Right. Let's grab diesel powered emergency pumps. Reduced crit chance helps destroyers survive when some of them rescue in convoy, get ambushed, but say light cruisers and they need to get away. But a crit from a torpedo or a gun will sink them. I've always wondered if it also helps with naval accidents chance. Probably doesn't, like the size of damage that can be suffered, because I think those are in-game handles crits. Or beneath the code, and whatever. In the code, their handles like critical hits, but I'm not sure. Could actually make sense, since one way that ships can get damaged. I mean, one thing that can happen when ships get damaged is they can flood. So, like, emergency pumps. There have been ships that have suffered engine failures and lost main power and stuff with flooding. This is a thing that's actually happens sometimes, even outside of war. Alright, got Arsenal Democracy claim. Building Arsenal Democracy. Stand against the Nazis and... Gosh, the British going fascist, or, well, allying with the fascists going non-aligned, but this is going to be freezing and possibly Franco winning here. Nothing I can do. Change the outcome. That's the US on a single player game. Except maybe rushing with interventionism, but that would prevent my ideology flip later. Stopping on the far right protest event. Better or worse? Okay. It's just some rain. First time in ages I see relatively calm seas. Yeah, I had this Pensacola class. Reassigned to Baltimore. A lot of stuff. Not sure if they're assigned to Norfolk, if they'll have to pull in the port to rebase or whatnot, but that's actually the Baltimore base. Cool. Actually, Pennsylvania, it's a much bigger naval yard. Anyhow. And the Italian Civil War started. John Mackley starts the Psalm Bella Ciao. Not particularly feeling it right now, though. Brazil enters a state of emergency. This means they go in there. I think they're historical, non-aligned path, or maybe they're going fascist. This is due to the Cohen plot. This was a fabricated, completely fabricated claim that the communists are planning a coup in Brazil, and specifically mixed up with anti-Semitism. Hence the Cohen part of it in Brazil in the 1930s. It was used as an excuse, as a power grab for, I think it was Vargas. I think that is the guy who historically did it. Declared a state of emergency and then instituted basically martial law to subvert democracy. Documents are found that indicated the communists were in the late stage of playing over the government. This was a lie. These documents were doctored, fabricated. It's been proven beyond a doubt. In fact, it was revealed by a later government. I don't think anyone ever went to jail for this, though. Or there was might have been a trial, but no one. Something maybe with the statute of limitations. The validity of these documents is being questioned by many, because they were in fact faked. But members of opposition parties are now going underground for fear of arrest. Martial law. The president announced that he would establish a new state with a new constitution that gives greater authority to himself. What this means for the future democracy in Brazil remains to be seen. It means they're not going to have democracy. They're going to be a non-aligned authoritarian state, or they're going to go fascist. If they do ensure military support. Stato Nova. Yeah, okay. So they're going Nova. They're going non-aligned, not fascist. So that is their historical route. Non-aligned. I think they can still do the grid neighbor policy, interestingly, even as non-aligned. Just not as fascist. Yep. Merging with a democratic or non-aligned nations. That's obviously historical, but it's something that could have happened, I suppose, in certain weird circumstances. Okay. We name these to the intent function. Friend all. Well, someday probably with enough experience, I had to Field Marshal once he's gained infantry leader, wherever the infantry is it. Infantry leader, and then I'll probably give him ambusher. Unyielding defender, because he's inflexible strategist and defensive doctrine, and he'll act as a when he gets to level 4, and he can take all his traits, and he'll probably act as a field marshal with very high maximum entrenchment and 10% extra defense, which is good if you're spamming lots of tiny divisions. It means you don't need divisions that are as large or well equipped to not suffer crits, which more smaller divisions means more organization, more support companies, which if you're trying to go for cost effectiveness, just support artillery maybe, but those support artillery are very cost effective source of small attack, especially if you're hitting combat with limits. Not super useful here, but useful maybe for, I don't know, defending in the Pyrenees someday if Spain ends up my faction. Say if the commune wins, lines with the right opposition, I join that faction to make sure that the Nazis don't take down the Soviets. Otherwise, I'm going to face a massive industrial behemoth that's probably going to be very hard to deal with. So assuming that they capitulate France before it can get involved, defending the Pyrenees line, some areas you'll hit the combat with in a later war. It's Nazis and lots of, I mean, it's not necessary to defend, but can do that, have lots of support anti-tank and support artillery, have cost-effective defense, and mounts, entrenched infantry. That's tiny divisions. Support anti-air as well, of course, because of aircraft, but the anti-tank and the anti-air will mean the whatever Nazi tanks won't do too well. Yeah, it doesn't deploy great tanks. Players love to build ridiculously elite tank divisions and then say that makes them great at the game. No, it just means you know how to do something that may be meta, but requires, say, a lot of fuel. It's a very aggressive strategy. When they do it, say, Germany, if you get in a situation that's ahistorical where you don't have access to as much fuel, which one has to remember that Nazis didn't know they were going to be able to bully Romania into a faction until pretty late, and they were planning on building lots of tanks before then. It's kind of a big lead time in building up that much armor. Here I'll be able to defend along the server line, defend these forests. If I don't advance everywhere, I can at least make sure and defend. Good defensive ground. Troops are entrenched before the war begins. Oh, shoot. Let's see. Should have, I think, a training battalion or something. These are the old ones, but they need to be converted to something else. Yep, large exercise divisions. Some plan I have to start adding more rifles to divisions, and I can actually finish training before the war. With how under-equipped they are. These are better equipped than this is a better example. 0.26 experience a day. So take like 90 days just, or EV6 or something, just to reach regular. And already, yeah. They'll finish, but not some of these ones that are pre-deployed green, they won't. Basically training a single battalion pre-deployed, then adding men up to much larger, producing some ridiculously under-equipped divisions. So it takes forever from the train without giving more rifles. Well, it ensures less time with divisions already at regular doing exercises. Okay, these three. They should actually, I've been thinking about this, switch to XL divisions. Might turn them to medium assault, like these. Which can be created from this. So 30 with infantry probably, or maybe, because I want to bother with engineers, they're expensive. I don't have that much support equipment. Large auxiliary divisions. More likely. Which are just infantry and support artillery. Engineers are good when you're need a little extra breakthrough or attack, because you already hit combat with, or though not cost effective, or crossing rivers. But the thing they're really good at is defending with tiny divisions. They have very high defense for a support battalion. So you can have lots of tiny divisions when you're at combat with, and you can't afford to have the divisions have extra infantry battalions you'd be over with. Yeah, anyways. Or you are limited manpower but have an industry. You get very high defense per man as well as per width. As the US, actually you have a very high ratio of manpower to industry. So, if anything, you want cheaper, more cost-effective stuff. The historical US approach to lots of cheap, relatively cheap light tanks and tank destroyers, for instance, instead of medium and heavy tanks, is actually a good strategy. You'll suffer more losses, but it's a lot cheaper in industry, and you have the manpower to you can build such a force up quicker. Actually won't suffer more losses than if you had the same number of medium tanks, but it would take longer to reach that level of development. I apologize about that. Slamming the doors there. So I just have some subs here. They're very slow to redeploy. So I get Navy XP for as long as I can. They'll probably eventually go to the Caribbean. It's a perfect place for subs. Where they'll do some convoy raiding to provide a little contesting of naval superiority and maybe do some damage. Try and make it harder for the Confederates to possibly naval invade Panama. If they do, I'll have entrenched divisions to hit them at the beaches. If I can sink some of their convoys in the way. Even if you don't destroy a division, they lose strength when they lose ships. from naval rating. So, like, if a division takes 4 ships and you sink 1, the division loses a quarter of its equipment and men. So it actually is useful. If I can pick off 1 or 2 ships in a naval invasion, even if I don't stop even a single division. Doesn't hurt to have had these training divisions for a little longer, but so they got a little more equipment. I think I explained before that extra men who are fully trained will just make the division have a little more organization at the cost of higher supply usage and combat with use. But they won't actually cause the division to suffer losses faster. But there is another cost to it, and that's the division will gain experience more slowly from fighting. So, I can get seasoned troops this way, but probably not going to get many seasoned divisions anyhow, except where I'm attacking. And that'll be a few of my best fully equipped divisions anyhow, where I am not so much using extra men, just fully equipped, like these assault. You notice they're all set to elite. These would be the ones that are fully equipped and might be seasoned before the end of the war. It takes a lot of experience to reach season. It's actually much quicker to reach veteran after that. Tomorrow. It's a fitting song, considering it was a song. It's not music symbolizing resistance to Nazis. This is like just I guess I should do this. Should I? No, it's 30 days. I mean, 2 days, 15 or 3 of 10. It's not gonna. It's the amount of industry put in over that 3-day period. It's not gonna free up any to try and get some other lines done quicker. All right. So yeah, the whole tomorrow, love you, tomorrow song. The Sound of Music is of course sung by the family before they flee over the Alps into Switzerland to escape the Nazis. Musical. Many people miss the context of what's going on in the musical. They somehow erase it from their memory. Basically, it was a family in Austria. Guy used to actually be an admiral in the Austro-Hungarian Navy. Was living a quiet life. Nazis took over Anschluss. His family detested the Nazis. They were kind of probably would be considered conservative Democrats or monarchist leaning, but they despised Nazis and they fled into Switzerland in the movie. even though they were social conservative people, they not hateful like the Nazis. I think was the idea. There's how they're represented. But anyways, of course, fascism being extreme of social conservatism. There's all this infrastructure damage, which means they so they would be southern farmlands. Infrastructure and supply have damaged to the fascists when the war starts. It's going to mean the going Italian Republic, which means communist or democratic. They can actually switch sides. Under a player, you have some flexibility. It's not hard to switch from communist to democratic. Because it represents kind of technically social democrat or ostensibly democratic socialist versus communist. What might be considered the more right-wing Democrats and people who detest socialism would actually be the can't even see it because it's been cut off, but the constitutional monarchist route branches off of conspiracies in the shadows instead of defy the Duce. Struggle in Ethiopia, it's already hidden because there's no way Italy can take that path anymore. So they're getting rid of the king entirely, not turning into a constitutional monarchy. Oh, that's done, I guess, because of the economic capacity surplus. Cool. All right. Okay, finishing up the Wichita class anti-air cruiser and the. How is this 47 days to finish? Huh. Well, another iteration would be awesome if I got one. We're doing this very kind of micro thing with swapping off which factories get the full 15. Very slightly increases the velocity of industrial production, so you end up with slightly more in the factories in the long run if you're doing SIP, or slightly more millet equipment if you're doing mill. Technically, you run mill longer and have fewer SIP in the long run that way. I mean, fewer factories in the long run, but more equipment if you're doing mill. It's consumer goods, depending on rounding. It's an incredibly small difference. It barely matters. It's like 0.001% higher return on investment. You can think of it as. I don't know. It's me being too much of a perfectionist, really. Oh, no negative events for congressional support yet. Making good progress. Human Wealth Tax Act. It does seem I'm probably not going to get the far-right riots until for 38 midterms. Maybe it's always the way it is. If that's the case, then I really screwed up the multiplayer game where I ran Union Representation Act right before 38. I lost a whole bunch of time. I could have had a Human Wealth Tax Act active. Could be RNG depending, or could be when I get a certain communist support level. Like maybe in mid 37 I'll get the far right rights and I reach like 25 or 30%. Let's see. I'll slow down the higher it gets. When it reaches 20%, I think. It slows down half the rate of gain. U.S. Communist path is kind of opaque as to what sets off the Civil War, and there's a lot of misinformation, and since so few players seem to play U.S. Communist, they always go fascist as the U.S. because the fascist path is ridiculously overpowered. It's undoubtedly stronger in the fascist path. I mean the communist path, the fascist path. It's not true for most nations. Many of them have communist paths are more complex, but done properly are stronger. Sweden is a great example of that. Was the extra production efficiency cap from socialist reforms. Swedish communist path is definitely their strongest path and doesn't get nearly enough credit. They can ally with any of the factions, Axis allies, or Comintern as it. And in fact, the decision point for that is later normal, so they can play it by ear with the way the world's going in a historical game. And they'll have the highest levels of industrial production in the long run. They don't get as many focuses or war goals, but people get over. They think those are too valuable. They really aren't as valuable as they seem because you can manually justify. It requires more advanced planning, but it's not that much political power to justify. It just takes time. But that's what you justify like 9 months ahead of when you actually plan to go to war. You just have to think ahead, which many players are bad at. You only need 1 or 2 wars because of guarantees and alliances to actually conquer huge swaths of land, usually. And you can make Norway and Denmark go. You can boost communist support, although I think they're already locked into their focus paths that aren't communist. I think Denmark's going their start the rearmament national unity path. They could be doing unify the right. No, they don't have enough fascist support. That's not aligned initially, isn't it? Keep an eye on them. Be able to figure out later what their path is. But yes, we can try and boost communist support. To really make that work, you need to go and trigger coups as a player, which not the easiest in Denmark with their high stability. It's not crazy high, and if you cut into that ruling party popularity, it's definitely doable. You'll have to get below 50%. Norway is actually more stable than Denmark, base stability. Substantially harder if they're going to Democrat path. Oh, they've taken a popular figurehead or whatever. They'd only have 74% split without him. It's one of their advisors. Anyways. Oop. If I have more divisions here, I can probably advance on Little Rock from the west, as well as try and rush the rivers in case this area is undefended, or push if it's defended. But I'll put 1 more division here. Pushing tactics are not easy. this ends up being auxiliary divisions. We gain more manpower soon. 24 with no engineers. 3 of those. 72 with and 70 minimal penalties. Yeah, even if I'm opposed, that's the right number of divisions there. This train I can use 90 with by attacking from 2 directions, so 5 standard divisions are more likely 3 30 with. Which are assault-sized divisions. Or 4 24 with for a little bit of oversized penalty, but more flexibility in how I split up after I push. After I break the defenses, grabbing terrain before they can reorient, plug the gap. Yeah, so I'll try and get good 5 divisions here, at least. Early goals will be Nashville and Little Rock. By the way, I learned recently Nashville is where some of the worst parts of the U.S. healthcare system came from. There's this basically kind of political dynasty, similar to the Kennedys out of Massachusetts, but out of Nashville. Well, not really national politics, more local politics, but an influential rich family that ended up, this is the family that for a while owned KFC. And it was like a family friend of theirs, I believe, who's connected to the family. There's these pair of brothers, and then a member of that family. The 2 of them ended up playing a pivotal role together in creating HCA Corporation, which is like a hospital network, for-profit hospital network that is the reason a lot of the worst laws regarding healthcare in the U.S. exist, and they heavily exploit Medicare, ruining it. It's a good YouTube video about it. It just came out recently. Link it if anyone's curious. And yeah, these pricks kind of screwed over the whole country. They realized that originally Medicare was done as cost plus reimbursement, so they would pay back hospitals the cost of care plus 2% for capital improvements, which is like facilities to expand hospitals. But then they added on it, gave an additional 1.5% for profit for for-profit companies. And this company realized they could just drive up costs artificially to make more profit in absolute terms, and they creative accounting plus some outright fraud with kickbacks and stuff. Yeah, they probably stole hundreds of millions, billions of dollars from taxpayers, got away with it through basically legalized theft, and in some cases illegal theft that they got fined for, but no one went to jail. Like, they're found to have violated the law, but of course the rich get away with stealing mass amounts of money, and all they get is a fine and a slap on the wrist in the US. Often the fines are less than what they stole if it's a corporation. If it's like a family that owned a corporation or something, they made more money than they got fined, so why wouldn't they do that? It's just the cost of doing business at that point. Alright, well, Nashville is actually a more important goal than Little Rock, so because I've industrialized the heck out of Tennessee. Well, 7 factories there as opposed to 2. Let's make sure I have enough troops here, actually. In this location, I can strike here or here, so. It's not always good, though. They can attack here when you're trying to move. So I also want divisions here lots. It's also cold here, so these divisions suffer hold the colonization. I guess I'll put troops here at first. Found in my current rates of production about 6 divisions. First 6 in the queue, 5 to 6 will get rifles. So, try and keep 5 to 6 at least. Sometimes a little more. Next to one, so if we forget to add more. And well, it's really single battalion divisions, so that they have as little equipment as possible. Try and get these men out quickly. If I didn't enlarge divisions, they gain like 1.5% experience or something a day in exercises. They gain training time 90. They gain just over 1%. So they gain experience slower in here than doing exercises. And of course, in the large, I can train a lot more men. Though it's scaled down the experience gained by the number of men who are under equipped, so it's really the same as same amount of experience to spread over more men. You can think of it as. It's still faster in being the queue. That's the point. If I'm running exercise continuously also for Army XP, then they won't get it when they're green. Does mean a given amount of rifles will spend longer doing exercises between train and regular, where they're producing XP and Army XP at the same time. So it's more efficient in a way. And Sweden's by my fighters. Colombia some more convoys. Cool. People eventually buy the rifles I'm selling. Whereas the ones I'm buying will make up for supplement whatever ones I'm selling, but I'm selling for more than I buy, so it's definitely net profit. Want this type some of my convoys and resources for a little while, but the amount of time the industry is tied up versus how much I gain, it's profitable. It's not less for the world, but I don't really want the Netherlands becoming too industrialized that the Nazis are just going to overrun them. It just means more factories there for the Nazis to conquer. There's no way in heck they managed to fight the Nazis off. These guys reach trained, I'll probably enlarge them to actual exercise stuff. I think I can turn these into that now. I'll probably drop to green, but not by much. machine tools isn't super useful when I have so few factories. At least relative. 10 military factories is actually a lot for some tiny nations, but the army speed is more valuable because I'm such a big nation. The sooner I get in a war artillery, the sooner I switch this spirit to this, which should pay for itself before I let you flip an army XP and then some. I also save political power when I eventually do my high command. If I really wanted to optimize political power, I would have not assigned Eisenhower until I take that. Maybe never done this gone straight, but would not have paid off with the Nazis running wild. Would have paid off in something like my multiplayer game where I may have tons of time to build up. And so I don't really have to worry too much about any of the biggest threat there is Italy, which is Italy, you know. Alright. Need at least one division to... I'm going to start just doing divisions instead of the large ones because they're not going to reach regular, I don't think. Time of the war otherwise. Unless I give them more equipment. Sorry, 66 worth of men here. Let's get reduced slightly with some with getting shipped in support. But we'll be adding another division at least. So probably have this 18 with divisions. Might have combat here. I'm not doing it to optimize the amount of support artillery. I'm doing it because I don't expect they'll have to really fight here probably. And that way I can split some of the divisions, go this way like 3, and send just one across the river to add flanking, which Nashville will probably defend it. What I'll actually do is attack with more than the width going here, and then have the other division join the fight a few hours later, so it'll be in the reinforcements, not actually in the fight. But that sure move me over with penalties for these guys if they're just a little over with. Might allow for more reinforcements to come in later, which could pull from here or from here. That's why I do 7 usually, because I sometimes forget to add more when I deploy. Alright. With the amount of micro, it feels a little bit like on my old days playing Alpha Centauri. I don't know if any of you've ever played that. Amazing game. Still rated best or second best game ever made by, I think it's PC Mag or something. Maybe it's one of the other older gaming magazines, maybe one that's defunct, but it's a great game. Really great game. Graphics, of course, have not aged amazingly, but better than many old games. But it's like a Civ game, and back before the newer, more air quotes streamlined Civ games, they're made for more casual players. So think more like Civ 4 or 3 with a lot of, or 2 with a lot of micro. Came out between 2 and 3. It was technically not part of the Civ franchise, but like a spin-off studio kind of thing, if I remember correctly. But it was a much better game than any of the actual Civ games. Just one of the most amazing games ever made. I like it. That's for sure. Probably the more important thing is to reduce the number of dockyards at the very end, because you can easily have like 4 dockyards waste in producing a ship. That's also why just 1 dockyard per destroyer, because you assign 5 on the last day if it only takes 1 day for 1 dockyard to finish, but you have 5 or actually 15 even assigned for screen ship. So let's say it takes 1 day, 1 dockyard, and you have 15, you'll lose 14 dockyard days of work just gone, doesn't go into overflow in the next ship in a line, unless it's a convoy being produced. Convoys do get overflow, everything else doesn't, disappears into thin air. People point out that what it should be is dockyards make production per hour. That would fix the issue. But, all right, Poland. This is the Polish Peasant Union. It says they're still Democrat for the moment, but they've taken this, which usually means the AI is going communist. If they were smart, they would raise the Black Madonna, because 15% base war support, it's very hard for them to ever replicate. Maybe even power the Morgus, because free divisions, that's essentially manpower out of thin air, as well as equipment. Maybe this for a really powerful advisor. So mixing communist and democratic focuses is more powerful. The AI usually just grabs the communist focuses and then takes this, which locks them out of any of the rest. It's annoying. The AI doesn't handle hardly any of the focus trees well, but especially the alt-history ones, it's pretty bad with. Which is why the historic ones are sometimes usually a little more powerful, not because they're actually stronger trees. In fact, the alt-history ones are often stronger, but the AI doesn't know how to play them correctly. Or it's got outdated code. Like when this was added, it used to be possible to get 100% war support from aces, but now you can't get war support from aces anymore. So focus that gives base war support is like 100 times more important than it used to be. Because you either get up to a higher level of war support than you could get otherwise, or if you were to run more propaganda, at least it would cost you a lot of political power to get to the same point otherwise. Alright, Polish peasant uprising. Regardless, they're going communist. That means Nazis will have to fight against quite possibly a united Polish Soviet front. Make it harder for them to overrun the East. They'll probably eventually still do it, but the momentum of their attack will probably peter out sooner. Eastern Front, or at least there'll be more time. This is the right opposition, USSR, which is probably the weakest path under an AI. The AI will always curtail the collective farms immediately instead of taking some of the 5-year plan focuses and then doing it, which is the optimal route. If you do that, you actually can be stronger as the opposition than the other paths, especially if you avoid a civil war and assassinate Stalin. Because the right opposition civil war is the longest, slowest of the communist paths. The left opposition war path tends to be very fast, and you just win within like a few months, so it's not as destructive. And it's not worth doing for like build slots of the Soviet Union, because Soviets have an immense number of build slots they can build. Prolonged war, you want a quick war as the Soviet Union. US has enough industry, even though it has vast capacity for build slots. It'll run out of build slots anyways. So like my civil war, I can drag out a little bit. Hopefully the Confederacy will run like naval effort 3 dockyards, 3 build slots, and like 2 or 3 other industry focuses, and I'll have like 6 extra build slots I could never have gotten otherwise before I end the war. And the non-aligned states might also add like 3 or 4 in that same time. So it could have like 10 extra build slots. Plus the communist path gives you build slots you can't get in democratic path from this Communal Property Act. And you can still do the Federal Housing Act. And still even grab women interventionism and get that stuff, which War Support Neutral Act would give you a bunch of factories and build slots from these things, like 8 extra, and this. So some of these are in states that would cap out otherwise, so it's not quite 20, but it's like 16 more build slots than you can normally get. Communist Path, you can get like 40 more. So it's still more build slots in total, though it's slower and costs political power. But the big thing is, and Civil War get you some, is Communist Path, too. But the big thing is, women interventionism will get you more war support than you can get Neutrality Act path. And it's not just people, again, they say, oh, it's just 5% war, or sorry, 10% war support from this, and that's just 10, but you also get decisions that you can run. You can easily get you like another 15 or 20, so you can get like 30% more base war support and reach higher levels of mobilization much sooner and afford to take more combat casualties and stuff without even falling below 100% war support at high world tension. It's definitely stronger, plus you get some national spirits buff your basically the CIA, so you can do coups in Europe, or if you take focus in Asia, you can get faster spying speed, so your patrols will spot Japanese fleets in the Pacific quicker. Makes for a slightly faster Pacific War. Focus on Europe, you get better infiltration effectiveness and propaganda. It's which means extra Army, Navy, and Air Force experience and political power from the infiltrations, and or no, you get bot chamber either way. Still, the infiltration effectiveness from this, and propaganda and boost ideology. And it's worth noting, focus on Europe gives you intervention mandate decisions based on Europe. You can get a lot more, and those are what give you the war support. You like ask Congress for war authorizations on Germany before you actually go to war with them. And you can send a warning to Italy if they annex Albania, to Germany over Anschluss, and again over the Sudetenland. So in a historical game, you can get 15% war support from those 3 decisions. There's, I think, a few other triggers for ahistorical games that can also happen, so you can end up potentially getting like 25% from decisions. Especially if you get intervention. There's an ultimatum you can send to Germany, one you can send to Italy, Albania, Sudetenland, Austria. That's already 25%, actually, even historical if you handle it right. Although I'm not sure if you can send an ultimatum to Germany and Italy if they're in a faction together. They may have to be in separate factions to send both. Okay. How many people went into opposition from the wealth tax? 239. It was at like 313 before, so 60, 70, 74. So it was a worse than average result. I do retain enough support to run Fair Labor Standards Act in 20 days, though. I'll need more support for the Selective Training Act or Two Ocean Navy. So we'll need to do some lobbying. Small lobbying is the efficient way. It's not worth doing either of these because I want Fair Labor Standards Act to start that in 20 days. I know it's exactly 20 days because it ran through this. That starts a 230-day cooldown. Then I did 3 70-day focuses. So it should be exactly 20 days from now. Easy way to know when that is when I reach 10 days here, I have 10 to go. So, oh shoot. Oh no, I didn't lose any time with that. Tempted to, since I'm probably kind of saving about this bait, kind of let the dice roll again now. Get a less bad result for Human Wealth Tax Act support, but that's kind of cheating. And nah, I'll just keep going a little bit further here anyhow. I've at least been lucky not to get negative events. I apologize yet again about the person slamming that door. It's pissing me off. You know what? I just need to get these eventually. Once I'm buying them, that should get them to put more in the market, which is I'm buying, so that they'll keep putting rifles for sale. The more I can buy from them, the more I can sell without leaving my divisions unable to fight in the Civil War. Believe it or not, they will probably eventually buy all these up. I've seen them buy like 1,600 at a time sometimes, so I can't even afford to really sell quite all those probably. Unless I can buy a lot more Dutch rifles. Let's see. For divisions here, 3 18 withs and actually a 24. 76 width to 70. Slightly over and then break up. Yeah, that's plenty there. So the next divisions should be here in Oklahoma. Make sure I can reach Little Rock. No, what am I saying? The really key part with Nashville is this. Yeah, I'll put divisions in Kentucky. Fastest coup in Chile. I'll save. Well, no. I think there's a chance now I can embargo them, or is that when nations go communist? Because it's probably when they go communist, because the U.S. apparently the game thinks that you're not bothered by fascism, but are by communism, which is actually probably historically accurate. The U.S. ruling class, in fact, installed a lot of these puppet dictators. Well, they're not puppets in this time period, but a lot of these far-right jerks like Trujillo were put in power by the U.S. to protect business interests against any possible left-wing governments that might raise minimum wages or such. It's not till the modern era where these governments might really be considered puppets In this time period, it was just controlling ideology. Some of the fascist nations are actually more on the lines of fascist, anti-Western. This guy, yeah, it's accurate to call him a fascist dictator. Peru attacked so many countries in the 20th century. He fought like a zillion wars. Someone I know, their boyfriend's from Peru, and I like asked him, like, so how do they feel about the war with Ecuador? He's like, what war with Ecuador? That, and I'm like, there were 4 wars in the 20th century, and they also fought Colombia, and they also fought Chile. He kept talking on and on about the Chilean war because apparently the Peruvians are salty about this area, Arica y Tarapacá being added to Chile after a war. They're super salty that maybe it was Arequipa, I don't know. They're super salty they lost territory, but they don't talk ever about, or maybe it was this, they don't ever talk about how they pushed to get maximum control of territory from Ecuador and fought Colombia. Very aggressive, very expansionist. For much of their history, Peru had the 3rd biggest army in South America after Brazil and Argentina. Even though their population was, say, smaller than Chile's. And I think they had, I don't know how it compares to Mexico, Central America, but a huge army relative to their population and industry, and just very aggressive. Of course, people grow up in Peru, they get the very biased education that doesn't teach the aggressive history of their nation or makes it out like they were the victims and of attacking all these other countries. I kid you not. Claims they were attacked when they were in fact the ones doing the attacking. It's very common. Nations that have, in like Latin America, that have had a lot, or in anywhere in the world really, they've had a lot of history being very aggressive to their neighbors. They teach their young people, oh, we were the victims, we were attacked. Wars that they launched, they always say they were attacked. By they, I mean like the government that controls the education systems in the country, obviously. So those guys did actually fall down to river. One thing I can do is this won't work here, but actually merge these into visions. Yeah, Bradley's actually a fairly good planner, so probably has very good stats. So I probably do want to give him 25 divisions, but what I need to soon is probably split off a new army and put it under control of MacArthur, who I really that they give him really good stats, make him a brilliant strategist in this game, but they do. He was incompetent. Eisenhower's stats, he should be a brilliant strategist, not MacArthur. Penn and Eisenhower should be. Although I think Bradley is, and some argue that Bradley is the real genius beneath Penn. He worked with Penn, I think. Penn was a field marshal and Bradley general under him, basically. So maybe that's fair, but Eisenhower should definitely be a brilliant strategist. They give him organizer. I think arguing he was that's a better fit for his skill set, but yeah. He showed some signs of brilliance. Where would I want to put MacArthur in charge, though? Bradley's cautious, so he plans slower. MacArthur has less defense, so he's... If you're going to suffer crits, he's worse. You definitely want Bradley to be leading the attack across the river with his guys. Shoot, I guess it's actually these divisions that should probably all be under MacArthur. This also makes a nice contiguous line instead of some nonsense spread all over the place. Alright, give him green. Yes, green blue. It's a nice color. MacArthur doesn't deserve it. He was a prick. He does not deserve to be skilled at all. He was actually showed his complete incompetence when he was in charge in the Philippines, and then handed off his failures to others, made it look it was other people's fault. He screwed up again and again, and somehow by playing the political game very well, he just kept avoiding blame for his failures and created this reputation of brilliance that was completely unearned. Politically connected, yes. Media personality, yes. Career officer, yes. These all fit his personality. Brilliant strategist, no. And if they're going to make him that, they definitely should make Eisenhower that. Eisenhower is much, much more strategically and tactically brilliant. Where's the training battalion? Just add exercise division. This is the advance and hold. Clark, he's an infantry leader. The idea is attack areas are lightly or undefended, and then defending against counterattack. He's got high attack skill, so he's actually pretty good at that. And I want him to gain infantry leader experience. See if there are other generals who might be slightly better at it, who aren't infantry leaders. Mark W. Clark. He's also reckless, so he plans quickly, and he's my infantry expert. High command one. So eventually, if I get to him to rank 8, he'll become an infantry genius, which is nice. Well, I've gone a long time without any negative house events. That's very fortunate. I probably should not jinx myself. Don't care much if I lose Senate support because senators keep their office for 6 years, so you don't lose. You only lose up to a third of your Senate support in midterms. And I end up having to do so much lobbying to keep up House and support. They just drain all the Senate support and use a byproduct. Probably should be decisions that focus on the House versus Senate but cost less political power. Doesn't make sense to lobby senators if I already have their support. And ignore the House where I need more. Or under focus on them anyhow. Alright, we're getting about an hour and a half here. This is going to be a pretty long video. This is stupid Luftwaffe march, which I hate because, well, Nazis. It's also a repetitive song. Too repetitive. Not terribly fond of that either. So I'm going to cut the video here. Viewers, I wish you all the best. Take care of each other. Be kind to yourselves, and may you always find a guiding star to lead you home. Till next time, adieu and best luck.